This is a truss given to us, and we need to find out the forces in the member BD, BE, and CE. And we are going to use method of sections. So what will be the first step? The first step will be to find out the reaction forces. How to find out the reaction forces? We can simply use the equation of static motions, right? Summation of force equal to 0 and summation of moment equal to 0 to find out the reaction forces. Once we have calculated the reaction forces, the next step will be to cut the entire truss into two sections. So I am using a section mm and I am cutting the entire truss into two sections, right? And this will give me two sides, two sections. We will have the left hand section and the right hand section. Okay. Now the next step will be to consider the equilibrium of one of the sections. You can either consider the left hand section or you can consider the right hand section. So let us consider the equilibrium of the left hand section. Now if you only draw the left hand section, then this is how it is going to look like. Right? So there is a 10 kilonewton force, the reaction at point A, 10 kilonewton force, and force in the member CE, force in the member BE, force in the member BD. Now, if you see how many unknowns are there, so this is an unknown, this is an unknown, and this is an unknown. So there are three unknowns, and how many equations of motions do we have? Equations of equilibrium, summation of force in x direction 0, summation of force in y direction 0, and summation of moment equal to 0. So we have three equations, three variables. We can easily solve this problem. But the question that arises, the doubt that arises in most of the students is, sir, you have considered the force in the member CE, you have considered the force in the member BE, and you have also considered the force in the member BD. But why haven't you considered the force in the member AB, force in the member AC, and force in the member BC? The reason is because when you write these equations, right, this summation of forces is basically summation of external forces, right? And the AB member, the force in the AB member is the internal force, right? For in the member AC is the internal force. Sir, but if they are internal, how come these are external? Now, try to understand this point. Once you cut down the truss into two parts, right, the left hand part and the right hand part, these are no longer internal forces. The BD, BE, and CE are no longer internal forces. Yes, if you have considered the entire truss, they were internal. But once you cut it into two halves, these are no longer the internal forces. No longer the internal forces, but how? These are the forces which are applied by the right hand side, right hand section on the left hand section. Now you have to understand that when you are considering the equilibrium of only one side, that is left hand side, right? So the right hand side becomes external. So these are the forces FBD, FBE, FC. These are the forces by right hand side on the left hand side. So these are external forces. But if you see the force in the member AB, force in the member AC, these are still part of the left hand side. So these are nothing else but the internal forces. So while equating this equations, while considering these equations, we are going to consider FCE, FBE, FBD, but we are not going to consider FAB or FAC.